Please settle in now. Our service is about to begin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to UUC SJS, Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Jersey Shore, a welcoming and inclusive community. We'd like to welcome any guests we have today. Thank you for taking a chance to join us for worship. My name is Paul Utz. I'm your worship associate today and also a charter member of this congregation. Currently, I sing in the choir, although I've had many, many jobs over the years. One thing I will say is I'm in desperate need of a haircut. My hair is starting to look like it did in the early 70s, and at this rate, when I reach my early 70s, my hair will be back down to my shoulders. I invite our treasurer, Karen York, to share a little bit about this year's stewardship campaign.
Good morning. I'm Karen York, and I currently serve as your treasurer and stewardship chair. Today is my last appearance in these services to report on our stewardship drive with the theme of now more than ever. I'll be reaching out directly to individuals who I haven't heard from yet to get as clear a picture as possible about the level of financial support that we can expect for the year ahead. This allows me to develop a realistic and responsible budget for the congregation for the next year. If you haven't yet made your pledge, there are two ways to do it. You can mail a pledge card or a note to the congregation's P.O. box, or send the amount of your pledge to me in an email. And if you're not able to make a commitment at this time, you can just send me a note to let me know that as well. Our goal for the stewardship drive was $188,000 in financial commitments from the members and friends of our congregation. As of this morning, we have over $159,000 in financial commitments from 53 pledging households. That puts us at 85% of our goal. And to put those numbers a little bit more in a broader context, last year we had 70 pledging households. So there are a number of people that I haven't heard from yet. And last year, the financial commitments, the total financial commitments were $182,000, and we're a bit short of that. However, it's not uncommon that pledges continue to come in after the more visible portion of the stewardship drive is completed. So I think we're in good position, and I hope to continue to receive some communications about pledges in the week ahead. Thank you to all who have responded so far. I look forward to hearing from those who have not gotten around to communicating to me whether you will pledge or not. This morning, Marty Quish will give a stewardship testimonial about the importance of the congregation in his life. So, Marty?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marty Quish. My husband is Tony Zatelli. We have been members of this congregation for almost 3 years. I serve on the Board of Trustees and advisor to the Finance and Gifts and Endowment Committees. Tony and I both belong to Interweave, the LGBTQIA arm of the UU, and have been a part of 2 Sunday services here. We are both part of the men's group and volunteer with them at the Soup Kitchen in Atlantic City. Tony and I have lived together for 37 years. We have been married for almost 7 years, ever since it became legal to do so in this state. Over the years, when people ask us where we met, we would tell them we met at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. They usually would follow that question up with, "Oh, are you Unitarian Universalists?" We would then say, "No, we're not." And that would usually leave the person asking confused. Tony and I met at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in 1983. We both belonged to the Gay Activist Alliance of Morris County. Back then, the only people willing to let us use their space were the UUs. We belonged to that organization for over 20 years. We always knew the UUs were special people, but really did not know anything about them. I always meant to look them up, but never did. Tony and I were raised Roman Catholic, but did not really practice that faith once we were together. We moved to Galloway in 2017 and would drive past our UU building on our way to the Atlantic City Expressway. One day, Tony said to me as we were driving by, "Time to give back. If it weren't for the UUs, we probably never would have met." I agreed. We bit the bullet and walked in the front door the following Sunday. We were welcomed by Betsy and Judy and immediately felt at home. We knew the UUs were acceptable of the LGBTQIA community as the rainbow flag was flying out front. The one thing I remember from that first Sunday was that I told Betsy that we leaned to the left on the political side. She replied with a smile saying, "Well, you two should feel right at home here. We have people here that are so far to the left, they are falling off the scale." We joined and soon after signed the book. We did bring our Catholic baggage with us, however. We started attending service every week and almost never missed, except when we were away, and then always tried to find a UU service to go to. As Catholics, if you missed Mass on Sunday, it was a mortal sin, and you had to go to confession in order to receive communion. All of a sudden, we didn't have to worry about that any longer. I remember Tony's grandkids asking me what I liked best about being a Unitarian Universalist, and I, without missing a beat, said, "No sins." They thought that was great. Tony and I had been active in organizations all of our adult life, but after moving to South Jersey, all of a sudden found like we were starting from scratch. The commitment to the Unitarian Universalist congregation gave us a sense of giving back, which was our main reason for joining. We now were part of something that was bigger than ourselves. We were overwhelmed at the acceptance we were given by the congregation. Everybody was very welcoming, and we were made to feel right at home from the beginning. We liked the sermons. They appealed to our activist backgrounds, but the biggest draw for us is the people and their diversity. We look forward to the men's group every month. The topics and personal sharing bring everyone together. The soup kitchen in Atlantic City has been very rewarding as well. We have always wanted to do something like this, and the experience has been humbling. And yet there is more to do. We still haven't hit on social justice and are looking forward to that in the future. We pledge every year because the values of the Unitarian Universalists are part of our values, and we want to see the organization grow and continue its goals into the future. I work for a financial company in New York City, and my job as a business development officer is to keep the business in the house and service and nurture new clients. All of our clients in New York City and Long Island are going through some terrible times right now. Some of my clients are sick. Some have members of their families that are sick. I now talk to them on the phone since I can no longer visit them in person. All of a sudden, they need us more than ever. I find being a UU these past 3 years has helped me to be more patient, kind, understanding, and non-judgmental, especially with our clients I know who are Trump supporters. I find myself saying to them as they tell me that they cannot pay their loans, that we are all in this together. We will make it through as best we can, and this will not last forever. And now I say this to you. I am a better person for being a member of this congregation. I am kinder. I have a more intimate understanding of people, and I have a joy of being together on Sundays and sharing our diverse values. Now more than ever, we are all in this together. I care about each and every one of you. We will make it through. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you so much, Marty. And certainly our community is better for having you and Tony as part of it. And we're so glad that you are. Thank you for those sentiments. Our worship service today is led by Ivette Guillermo-McGahee. Ivette is a founder and CEO of Allies in Caring and Covivra Wellness Hub, a nonprofit offering mental health counseling, as well as indoor-outdoor educational programs that foster resilience, promote healing, and bring people together in meaningful interactions. Yvette's experience as a Mexican-born child of deaf parents have provided profound understanding of the potential for growth that lies within the hardship that are a part of the human experience. Her vision is to help families thrive and develop into more skillful, mindful, and compassionate human beings while working through the adversity in their lives. Video of the service will be available on our website and Facebook page later today. If you care to tweet during today's service, you can use the hashtag UUCSJS. If you're joining from a computer or a smartphone, you're encouraged to leave any joys or concern in the chat box area on your screen. In most platforms, it can be accessed by the chat icon at either the top or the bottom of the page, and the chat section will appear where you can leave a comment and see what others have said. Welcome to worship. Welcome into this place of healing. Welcome into this place of challenge and of growth. Welcome into this place of imperfection and aspiration. You are whole, you are holy, you are wholly loved. A poem by Sarah Ellen Lawal, Out of the Flame. Out of the flame of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions, to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flame of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise. Please join me in a moment of reflection as we light our chalice with these words from Reverend Dina Van Diver. Our chalice lighter this morning is my lovely wife, Helen. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, alive in this world, naming our vision of collective liberation and daring to remember each other into beloved community. Please rise now in body or spirit to sing our gathering hymn, Come and Go With Me, by singing along where you are.
For today's Time for All Ages, Ivette has asked that I share this traditional bit of Tibetan wisdom with you. So it goes like this. There comes a time when all life on earth is in danger. Barbarian powers have arisen. Although they waste their wealth and preparations to annihilate each other, they have much in common. Weapons of unfathomable devastation and technologies that lay waste to the world. It is when the future of all beings hangs by the frailest of threads that the kingdom of Shambhala emerges. You cannot go there, for it is not a place. It exists in the hearts and minds of the Shambhala warriors. But you can recognize a Shambhala warrior by sight. There isn't a uniform, there isn't an insignia, there are no banners, there are no barricades from which to threaten the enemy, for the Shambhala warriors have no land of their own. Always they move on the terrain of the barbarians themselves. Now comes the time when great courage is required of the Shambhala warriors, moral and physical courage. For they must go into the very heart of the barbarian power and dismantle the weapons. They train in the use of these two weapons, compassion and insight. Compassion provides us the fuel. It moves us to act on behalf of other beings. But by itself, it can burn us out. So we need the second as well, which is the insight into our interdependence. It lets us see that the battle is not between good people and bad people, for the line between good and evil runs through every human heart. With insight, we realize that we are interconnected as in a web, that each act with pure motivation affects the entire web, bringing consequences we cannot measure or even see. But insight alone can seem too cool to keep us going. So we need as well the heat of compassion, our openness to the world's pain. Both weapons are necessary to the Shambhala warrior.
Okay. Thank you. During this next musical interlude, we invite you to write your joys and sorrows in the chat portion of your Zoom screen. The icon will appear, will either be on the top or the bottom of your screen, and will allow you to enter text into the panel where others can see it. At the end of the musical interlude, I will read what you would share with the congregation gathered here today. Okay. First of all, my joy is that Julia is with us today, my daughter, who normally wouldn't get up on a Sunday morning, and it's nice to have you here, Jewel. Welcome. Let me see here. From Judy Pereira, I'm truly happy to see Hillary Keever and Nevio with us this morning. Welcome back. Karen, you have the address for sending in checks here, but I assume that's just for people's edification. Damian Smith says, thank you, Marty. And Nevo says, thank you, Judy. Finally made it. Tara has a joy that her mom gets to speak today. Lisa has a concern, sending healing thoughts and hugs to Kathleen Hartnett, who is in the hospital recovering from a fall at home. No broken bones. She appreciates cards. Check with Tracy or Reverend Dawn for more information. Damon Smith, he has a concern that Olivia's mom took a fall at home on Thursday and shattered her elbow, and we hope she recovers well. Nick, or maybe from Debbie, says, I love you all and need this virtual gathering. Marty, your testimonial was great. We agree. Helen and I were both moved by your testimonial, Marty. Tara, that's a joy we share with you. It's our joy too, from Judy Pereira. Kathleen, from Tracy Staub, Kathleen Hartnett, our amazing bookkeeper, had a fall and is at Atlantic Care Mainland Division Room 247B. Please send her a card if you are able. Judy Pereira, Marty, you spoke from the heart and we heard you. Kim, lovely to see you again this morning. And from Kim, you too, Judy, looking forward to the day when I can hug you. Judy Pereira, though we haven't had the pleasure of her on video, it's wonderful you've been with us, Cece, for many Sundays now. Online makes the mileage no problem. And it's so true. It's really good to see people from Florida and California and North Carolina here joining us. Tierney Miller says, from Alice, my dad is making pancakes and I'm going to get to play Animal Crossings later. From Helen, so happy our Julia has joined us. Stephanie says, I'm grateful to be here right now. And Evo concurs. Me too, Stephanie. Julia sends her love. My joy is that from Tracy, my joy is we live in an area where we can bird watch and garden. Well, it's been a real blessing for me, I can tell you that. So happy to see everyone. Separated as we are by distance, we are joined this morning in spirit, brought together to seek comfort and encouragement and to share those things in our lives that bring us joy and cause us sorrow. So that was what I was supposed to read before I read the chat. Let us be in the spirit of prayer. Blessed and holy creation, universe of wonder, mystery beyond definition, we share today our joys and sorrows, longing for a time when we can once more place stones in water and in the light of our own chalice. Our hearts are touched by this shared ritual, and we are connected. We bow our heads in order to imagine not one path, but many. We imagine a path forward for those who cannot imagine any path forward because of poor health, financial hardship, family crisis, and other roadblocks we cannot even begin to understand or imagine. We struggle to imagine a path forward for those who are forced to leave a homeland against their will, and for those unable to leave a war-torn homeland despite their lives being in danger. We imagine a path forward for those who leave their homes to make a better life for their families and elsewhere. May we be welcoming presence along that path towards hope. We come together to imagine a path forward for those of us despairing because we do not seem to know our country nor our neighbors, despite the fact that we have not moved at all. May we be the good we are hoping to find as we travel side by side down the path towards hope. We imagine a path forward for those who feel lonely during this time of uncertainty and social distancing. May we take one another's hand, even if only virtually, as we walk that path towards community. Truly, we know as we imagine these ways forward and take one another's hands, the path will lead to hope and the road will lead to beloved community, and the arc will bend towards justice because we have dared to travel with love in our hearts. And those words are by D. Scott Cooper. We offer all of these and those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken in our hearts into the care of the universe. May our joys be multiplied and our sorrows diminished in this sharing. Amen. We now join together in a time of silence.
We now take a moment to give and receive the morning offering. That looks a little bit different when we're separated by distance. And rather than place a check in the basket, I ask you to consider a generosity practice of sending a check to our P.O. box, or arrange a regular payment to be sent through your bank, or to use the donate button that's on our website to make a contribution. We honor the voluntary generosity of the congregation and remind you that no matter how those gifts are offered, they are always gratefully received. I thank you all.
Our reading this morning is called Liberation by Adrienne Mears Brown. At the end of this reading, we will enjoy a time of quiet contemplation before today's sermon. I can only do something small. The ripple still reaches the shore. When we meet, you are a stranger, but I knew you, and you became beloved. The days are all too heavy, and then we lift together. We need everything to be different, so we change, and change. I thought this was too shattered, but I am whole. We are whole. This is whole. We seek a way through to heaven. We find we each have our own way.
Good morning, I'm Ivette, and first of all, I want to express my gratitude to Bob. He encouraged me to share this topic today with the congregation. And I also am grateful to the coordinating team for their guidance, to my husband who listened and asked questions that were helpful when I was preparing for this, to my teachers in Shambhala, and to all of you too. I'm feeling quite nervous, like my heart is beating now. So, but I know that I'm among friends, so I trust that it will be fine. So, the reason I wanted to share this is because for the past year, I have been feeling overwhelmed as I listen to all the vast suffering in our world, in all aspects of our lives. In my field, increasing rates of suicide, addictions, self-harming, then all the devastating fires and floods, and the extinction of species, growing inequity, the terrible void in leadership, the rise of the far right, the cruelty in our borders, the shootings in our schools, and more recently, this pandemic that has exposed all the, in a more vividly way, the climate injustice, the longstanding inequities, the broken healthcare system, and so the list goes on. And I have been feeling, I've been carrying this pain. And it just has felt that to remain open to the suffering in our world and my own feelings of sorrow, anger, and fear sometimes has been really challenging. I find that in my relationships with others, engaging in the normal course of interaction with small talk feels excruciating. Sometimes I just want to jump into the deep end of our hearts and share our collective pain for the world. But our society has pathologized pain. I feel conditioned to just share my cheerfulness with others. And it pains me in the field that I work, in the mental health field, that very few clinicians connect the epidemics of mental health distress with the destruction of what sustains our life. It is obvious to me that our environment, the jobs, the loss of jobs, the loss of community, the loss of meaning in our life is connected to the despair that we are feeling. And if we look for context to depression, anxiety, addictions, we can find that it's not caused by a personal deficiency. There are several contributing factors, including a painful heartbreak about our world that is agonizing, and I feel it myself. The disconnection from one another, the disconnection from meaningful work, from nature, from a sense of hope for our future. This congregation pays attention to the world's suffering. It cares about it. Reverend Don doesn't shield us from the suffering in our world. During her sermons, she reminds us of the reality we live in. This is one of the many reasons why I have chosen to be a member of this community. Many times at the end of the sermons, my heart aches. The question I wanted to explore and share with you today is how can we befriend this suffering together? This pain is speaking the truth, and our emotions are required to set us in motion. We need to feel. Joanna Macy's, a Buddhist and activist that I have been studying lately, tells us that of all the dangers we face, from coronavirus now, climate change, cruelty, violence, none is so great as the deadening of our response. I know that this congregation cares about responding, and this is something I also love about being a member of this community. In Buddhism, the first noble truth is dukkha, the truth of suffering. The truth of suffering means that even though one might manage to have all the comforts in life, be financially stable, physically and emotionally healthy, there is still a deep dissatisfaction inherent in all the human condition. No matter how blessed our lives are, we all face illness, aging, and death. And no matter how much goodness we may find in this world, the entire enterprise of life is caught up with disruptions. Just right now, the COVID-19 pandemic. No matter how great we think we are or how much we have worked to bring security and stability in our lives, a virus can bring our world to a standstill. Based on this realization, the realization of suffering and confusion of oneself and others, some choose to turn deliberately towards the suffering around, to serve and help those around in whatever way they can. They are called bodhisattvas in Buddhism. Bodhisattvas no longer are intent on creating comfort for themselves. The bodhisattva chooses instead to become open to the world, willing to take on a greater responsibility, to take a chance. This chance has been taken in the past by millions of teachers and social activists, healers, and just ordinary people that take care of their families and their neighbors. The bodhisattva path starts with setting an intention, choosing what we want to give our attention on the ever-present moment, now, in this constantly changing flow of life, based on what matters most to us. Having an intention helps us align our moment-to-moment actions with our inner values. So the Bodhisattva takes these 4 vows. And this is kind of the beginning of what can help us, like knowing where to direct our intention. These Bodhisattva, these vows are, the first one is, because I care about suffering, I choose to dedicate my actions to help everyone I can, including myself, to cross over. So rather than distracting myself, trying to avoid pain, I'm going to do my best to turn to help all the innumerable beings, including myself. The second vow is to work with the deeply ingrained afflictions, such as difficult moods, hopelessness, magical thinking. So I find myself sometimes in both extremes, going to hopelessness or magical thinking. And it's this intention that to stay and work with that, with the uncertainty. And the third vow is to see all situations as opportunities for learning. For example, now with the coronavirus, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we can focus on the disaster that is causing, or we can also see the corrections that may be happening. We might learn, at least it seems like it's reminding us that we are all equal, because this disease treats us all equally. It is also reminding us that we are all connected, that the false borders that we have put have little value, because this virus doesn't need a passport. It also might be helping us to empathize with those in our world who spend their life in oppression. So we are now experiencing what it feels to not be able to transport ourselves, to live, to have access to the food that we need. So this is an opportunity to also assess what is essential in our life. And that's the third vow as a Bodhisattva, to make an effort to take all experiences as an opportunity to learn. And the fourth intention is to do our best to practice what they call in the Bodhisattva the parameters, the 6 perfections, that are generosity, discipline, patience, exertion, meditation, and transcendental knowledge. So these are like practices that are necessary to create change. So what I'm working with is, and I feel that we are at the edge of where in this moment with the pandemic, that we can either see this as the end, and the or many of us, I know that in our society, we are also seeing how this can be a new beginning, that this is an opportunity for us to be moved and awaken our compassion, compassionate, brave, and wise warrior in ourselves, as the Shambhala story tells us. And we know in history, when I'm feeling hopeless, it's helpful for me to remember that in history, change has happened. From the civil rights movement, of course, the end of slavery, more recently, like there is movement happening around climate, like more people realizing the impact. So it does matter for us to connect with the suffering and to find a way through it. There are some practices, and I wanted to specific practices for how to work with the pain so that we can make room and stay open. So I'm just going to take 3 minutes to guide you in a little practice that is a mindfulness practice or meditation practice. So if you could just close your eyes and focus your attention on your breathing. You don't need to breathe in any special ways. Just watch your breathing as it happens in and out. Noting the sensations in the nostrils and your upper lip, your chest as it rising, and your abdomen. So just notice that flow. And as you're breathing, now picture your breath flowing through your heart and out to reconnect with the larger web of life. Let the breath stream as it passes through you and through your heart. Allow it to connect you with the vast web of life. And now, open your awareness to the suffering that is present in the world. Perhaps just bring one concrete image to your awareness. An image of beings that are in pain and need, in fear or isolation. Just feel it. Relax. You just need to observe. Observe the hardship of your fellow human beings while you inhale and exhale. In the next breath, if you wish, you can place your hand in your heart. And as you inhale, Inhale the pain like granules of the stream of air. Up through your nose, down through your lungs and heart, and out again into the world net. You are asked to do nothing for now, but just let it pass through your heart. Be sure that the stream flows through up and out. Don't hang on to the pain. Just surrender. Surrender for now to the healing resources of the life's web. Continue breathing. Shantideva, the great Bodhisattva, said, "Let all sorrows ripen in me." We help our sorrows ripen by passing them through our hearts, making good rich compost out of all that grief, so we can learn from it, enhancing our larger collective knowing. Breathing through, once we learn it, becomes useful in daily life, in the many situations that confront us with painful information. So this is one practice that I hope you can take with you. And the second practice that I want to offer is connected to Mary Oliver's poem, the Wild Geese poem. And I'm just going to read some of the verses that are, "Tell me about despair, yours and I. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. So we can let this soft animal of our body love what it loves and find our place in the family of things." So this is an invitation as we go out and share with others, that perhaps we share this pain with others, and in our conversations with others, we talk about these things rather than carrying alone. If we are all together, we might say, what is it that is happening right now? What is concerning me? How is my heart doing right now? So that this could be, at least this is my own wish for myself, to not separate and bring only my cheerfulness, but to share that with others. And with that, I thank you for your time. Amen. Yes.
Thank you, Ivette. I invite you to enjoy some music as we reflect on Ivette's meaningful message this morning.
Well, we may need to redo the extinguishing the chalice. I'm trying to unmute you, but it's not working.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we're going to now read the words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now, please enjoy our musical postlude by Barbara Miller. There are a few final announcements this week. After worship, though, please remain on the call for a short coffee hour time of socializing and fellowship. Tracy Catino is coordinating the pastoral care team and welcome referrals and volunteers. Lots of different kinds of help is needed right now. The team needs people who can check in by phone on some of our more isolated members. It needs people who can do errands for those who cannot leave their home. Connection to one another is key to everyone surviving this situation. If you can help, reach out. If you need something, reach out. We must take care of each other. After worship, please remain on the call for a brief update on the status of the pandemic in South Jersey from our UUC-SGS President and MD, Melissa Hutchinson, who will answer as many of your technical medical questions about the spread of the coronavirus as she is able to during that time. A reminder that all events at the UU Center are canceled until further notice. If you'd like to schedule an activity using our Zoom account, and we did this with men's group, it was nice, reach out to our administrative assistant, Matt, for help. Call for pastoral support if you need it, and wash your hands twice. Okay, now we're going to share some of this week's happenings at the virtual UUC-SGS. Obviously, we have worship at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Tuesday, calling all kids. Join Miss Jessie for an RE lab at 3 p.m. You know, those kids are getting ready to do something. Wednesday, pastoral chat with Reverend Dawn at 7 p.m. Thursday, common arts for do-it-yourself hearts at 7 p.m. All makers and all ages are welcome. Friday, pastoral chat again with Reverend Dawn, and that time it's at 1 p.m. And at 7 that night, calling all kids for Friday fun night. Spend some time hanging out or having fun in an open Zoom room for kids. Bring your current art projects, your Legos, whatever. Sounds like a fun time. And Saturday, parents and caregivers, you get a break with a happy hour at 7 p.m. And if you haven't done a Zoom happy hour yet, it can be quite fun. Just have your favorite libation with you there and enjoy. And that's that. Okay. Don't leave your house. Take care of yourself. If you feel like you might have the virus, let our pastoral care team and Reverend Dawn know so that they can support you. And once again, wash your hands, singing happy birthday twice. We warmly welcome all of you who are visiting us today. Please stay and socialize in our online social time so that we can get to know each other better. Now, let us share in a moment of silent reflection to consider today's message and the meaning it has in our lives.